Welcome to Afra's Artifacts, where we do some archaeology of our own and dig into the queer side of Star Wars. I'm your host, Alia Morgaine, and it's so great to have you here. Hello!
Hi.
Here we have Wesley from QueerSWatch. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Of course, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you here to help celebrate my 100th episode.
Woo! Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I cannot believe I have done 100 episodes. When I started this thing, I was just like, I really want to do this. Is there going to be enough queer content to get 100 episodes out of it? There is.
There is. There keeps being more, so here's to 100 more.
I'm very happy about that fact, for sure. So, QueerSWatch, can you tell us just a little bit about it?
A little bit about it. Well, it's it's pretty much in the name, because it's just I was already reading everything Star Wars anyway, and I always saw people wondering like, yeah, but is there gay stuff in this book? And I was like, so why don't I just make an account that actually tells people that, and so they can check that out and follow that without having to keep up with all the bullshit I post on my personal account. So so that's kind of how the idea started, and I just ended up doing that.
That's
And
awesome.
of course the name is a pun on a different account that does the same thing but with General Veers.
Oh
QueerSWatch.
yeah, right. I never. That's funny. I love that. Very cool. Well, I love QueerSWatch. I think it's a wonderful account. So thank you for hosting that.
Thanks for the compliment.
So we have several questions that I do want to talk to you about. Let's start off with we'll wait to get to that one because there's a lot behind that one. Let's just start with an easy question. Who is your favorite queer character?
Are you sure that's an easy question though?
Okay, you're right. It's not an easy question. I have like 50.
Yeah. But I think my top 10 favorite characters in general, I think almost all of them are queer, but yeah, I might steal your answer and say Afra. Afra is like my favorite character, and she's like the epitome of queer Star Wars characters. She's like pretty much the baseline they're all trying to live up to, I think.
Yeah. Did you see?
Of course.
I forget where I bought this shirt, but when I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, it's a queer Afra shirt.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not officially Lucasfilm sanctioned.
No.
They would never do that.
So very cool. And I do like to say Afra, of course. I mean, but I feel like Afra's a give me for me because my channel is Afra's Artifacts.
How could it not? Yeah.
So the one I always like to throw out is Sinjar Raphaelis.
Oh yeah.
Because
that's the baseline for the dudes, pretty much.
He is just so crazy. I love him. He's funny. He's very real, and his relationship with Condor Kyle is just so a real relationship that goes through real things, and I love that. So
yeah, and fingers crossed, but not too hard because my hopes aren't very high. But we're pretty much in the era of TV where he could show up.
Yeah.
Will he? But
yeah.
Should show up at least.
Yeah. I was heartbroken when Chuck Wendig got kicked out of Star Wars. I was like, the author of those books, I was like, no, but I want more Sinjar.
Yeah, Sinjar specifically, yeah. I would love more Sinjar stories.
But what was I gonna, there was something I was gonna say, and it had to do with, so my co-host on Let's Talk About Star Wars, we have done a couple episodes where we talk about our favorite characters, like lesser known characters, and he likes to say all your favorite all your favorite characters are queer ex-imperials, because I mentioned Magna Tolvin and
Yeah.
I mentioned Singer, and he's just like, what is this like gravitation towards these queer ex-imperials?
I don't. You tell me. That's your gravitation.
So that's been pretty funny.
To be fair, there's a lot of ex-Imperials in Star Wars.
Yeah.
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 Callus is
Okay.
probably another one of your favorites.
Do what?
Callus?
Oh,
Ah.
that's a good one.
Queer, but yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
yeah, we know he is, but
yeah,
yeah, that happens in TV.
it does. Which, speaking of, so in regards to, I mean, obviously print media is where most of the queerness is found.
Yeah.
But there have been, at least as far as I know, 3 examples of verified queerness in audiovisual media. And that
Yeah.
would be Flix and Orca, which they are my heart. I love them. And Larma Dacey and Roby Tice and the Blink and You Miss It Kiss. And then Vel Sartha and Sensa Kaz from Andor.
Yeah.
So, thoughts on that?
Thoughts on that? Well, there should be more.
Yes, agreed.
Because like even with the ones you mentioned, I'm pretty sure there was some they've said, and I believe it to be true, that like on Andor there wasn't any messing with they were just allowed to put that on screen the way they wanted to, and it wasn't even a conscious decision on the showrunner's part to be like, oh, this is the first, I'm gonna have to make them live up to something or something. No, they were just a queer couple and they were going through some troubles, and that's I thought that was pretty good. But the other two, like, yeah, it just feels like throwing something out there to keep us occupied and happy. Like, Roby and Larma like were in the same movie where they also um put in 2 new female characters to play off of Finn and Poe, like specifically to they knew what they were doing. Like that fandom was pretty big back in that day. And they'd already promised queer representation, so like, oh, we'll just throw a 2-second kiss in there that we can edit out very easily. And like same with Flix and Orca. I think the the intent of the show, people writing the show, was there, but like there wasn't. We just needed that one little, just maybe a peck on the lip. It's they are queer, but we had to. It's people can still look at them and go, like, oh no, they're just good friends. Like there's no hard confirmation, and that's probably something that it feels to me like that's something they uh that came from higher up. Like you're not allowed to do this on a kid show, and that still permeates into the Star Wars shows we're getting these days.
Yeah, yeah. And I can see you, I mean, you have to be, I guess, wanting it with Flix and Orca to be able to take, like, there's one scene that always I point to. It's when Flix's cousin says about Orca, oh, no, wait, now I'm getting them backwards, I think. I get so
No, they
confused
went
with
they
the
went
two of
they
them.
went to Flix's family, and his family says something about
Yeah, good
I see
find.
what
Good
you see in
find.
him or something. Yeah, good find. Something like that. I forget the specifics, but yeah. But
Yeah,
like that's as explicit as it gets.
it's true.
And like it's great. I love them, but I want more and better, and
Yeah,
it's frustrating. Because like in
yeah,
the upcoming shows we're getting, I don't think it's gonna happen until Acolyte or season 2, whichever comes first. Like before that,
right.
it's just no, not happening.
Yeah. No, I get that. And when Black Chrysanthemum showed up in Boba Fett, I was like, where's Afra?
Yeah.
Where's Afra? But sadly, there was no
Ah,
Afra.
but she's also one of the most requested characters, like to get their own show. And it would be
Yeah.
so good.
I
But
mean, she has an action figure. Like, I
yeah,
don't,
for a book or comic character, like she's pretty much the biggest new addition to canon.
right. Absolutely. So, speaking of these video, TV, or movie characters, we have two characters that are canonically queer, at least when you read some of the print media,
Yeah.
but it's not displayed on screen at all. Lando Calrissian and Amelin Holdo.
I'm gonna refute you on that actually,
Okay, go
because
ahead.
we don't actually ever see Lando express any interest in any dudes in any print media. It's just the Pride cover, which
Mm,
is something that that one gets under my skin every time. Like you flaunt it in interviews, and that's been Solo came out in 2018. Like they've had 5 years and he's shown up plenty of times in comics, in books, and not one single. Ugh. So for QueerSWatch, I don't even count him
gotcha.
because he is queer. He's pan. I want to see it.
Yeah.
Um, his show is one of the few shows we've heard nothing about since its announcement. So is that because they wanted the showrunner is a gay man? So like that
Mm,
aspect of him is probably going to show up in the show, but is that why it's being put on the back burner? Uh,
that I didn't know about that part of it. That could be really cool, but it could also delay it forever.
yeah.
So, mm.
Hmm.
I can't remember what comic it was in, but there was one comic where, and I didn't appreciate the way they did this at all. I thought it was a little weird, a lot weird. Um, Lando was talking about having some sort of relations with an it.
Oh
And I
yeah,
was,
yeah. In the
and
Double or Nothing comic, yeah,
yeah, that's it. And I was like, whoa, like that's not okay, y'all.
yeah,
That's not okay.
yeah. Like I don't even require a lot to count something for representation, but like better than that, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit uncool. But Amelin Holdo, I love that they keep bringing her in to different comics and stuff. At least they did for a while. I'm a little behind with a lot of things.
No, she's still in the current arc, yeah.
Okay, cool. So I love the comment she made in Leia, Princess of Alderaan, and she, like, I really connect with her on so many levels. And I'm pan, so the fact that she's pan is awesome. And I love that. I love her. And I hope we get a little bit more in regards to her queerness.
Yeah, because again with her, I don't think any of the comics or books has she shown up in books actually? Doesn't matter. I don't think she's I think Princess of Alderaan is again the only place where she's confirmed queer.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot actually. Like Sabe and a few out of the other handmaidens are all queer, and that's
Yep.
pretty explicit in the Queen's Shadow trilogy. But outside
Yep.
of that, they've been in the Vader comics a lot, and nothing. It's
Yeah.
pretty frustrating.
It's like, we'll mention it here, and that's good. And
Yeah,
I'm
and like
like,
it doesn't need to be brought up every issue, but like
right.
once in those 20, 30 issues, one time maybe, please.
Yeah,
But no.
absolutely. For sure. Okay, so we've talked a lot about some of the issues, some of how they've tried certain things, but it doesn't really carry over to being good quality representation. So what specifically I'll kind of combine these two questions. So what specifically could Star Wars do better in regards to queer representation? And what specific issues or areas of queer life / representation are lacking?
Yeah, that's a big. Ooh, you've combined two big questions. Now, what's lacking? Like first and foremost, it's like certain like some letters in LGBTQIA, like they're just completely missing.
Yeah.
Like binary trans people, we've had like three very minor characters, and like we've had our fair share of NBs, and I'm not complaining about that. I love them all. But yeah, like one clone trooper for trans women,
Right.
and a clone trooper that's in 2 scenes in 2 books. Like I want more. And and the same thing with ace or aromantic characters. Like there's I can count them on one hand off the top of my head, and yeah, it's sad. But more generally speaking, it's also a thing like the queer, like there's not really much bigotry in the Star Wars universe, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But there's some characters whose stories do get to incorporate some of that, and like that's a side of queerness that doesn't also always have to be focused on, but it's cool and relatable to see like every once in a while. And I'm gonna grab in another question here, because like the way to actually like the queer representation I most like to see is when it's done like Zine Morala from High Republic Adventures and Midnight Horizon.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's queer textually, like she's in love with her best friend Lula,
Yeah.
but she's also queer subtextually. Like her whole family and the place she grew up with is not okay with like a giant intrinsic part of who she is or for she is. And that I feel like I think Daniel Jose Older meant that as a metaphor for not just being queer, but also being like part of racial diaspora and other things. But like the queer part of it resonates with me most, of course.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, but it's not until she finds other people like her that she really finds happiness, and that's just heartwarming to see. And that aspect of queerness is kind of missing from a lot of other representation. Like it's a double-edged sword because like I don't
Yeah.
want to see all of them hated on for being who they are, but like
Right.
it's an aspect that it is a part of being queer that you can't really shut out and of your franchise entirely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think having that variety of experience, that diversity of experience for the different characters is really important for sure.
Yeah.
Because you don't want it to be all, sunshine and rainbows and everyone's happy, because that's not incredibly relatable all the time.
But I love seeing that, but
I
not
do
all the
too.
time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So it's good to see those things, but it's also, you know, it's nice to have some of the other aspects of it as well. And one thing, this just popped in my head, but when Singer comes out to, and I'm forgetting her name right now, but the Zabrak.
Jess?
Yes.
Jess Amari, yeah.
Yeah, when he comes out to her, and because she's like, don't think that, we're gonna do stuff. And he's like, yeah, that's not gonna happen. What? Because I'm an alien? No, I like men. And she's like, oh, okay, cool. Like,
Yeah.
but she was embarrassed by the fact that she assumed that about him. And I thought that was a really cool moment between the two of them.
Yeah, and it like moments like that, they don't have to be long-winded or anything, but it's like that's a relatable experience.
Yeah,
And it's cool to have like a few paragraphs devoted to that.
right. I agree. So thinking about um I I do want to ask you this question, because I know you keep up with High Republic a lot.
Of course.
So, considering the fact that High Republic has an abundance of queerness, comparatively
Sure,
to
yeah.
some other time periods, um, but High Republic is not going to be something that the masses consume.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about that? Like the fact that they said, "Oh, we can put this variety of queer characters into High Republic, but it's okay because, I mean, this is just the way I'm seeing it, but it's okay because, you're not going to have your average off the street Star Wars fan read it."
Yeah, I don't
I could be wrong.
yeah, I'm pretty sure there's very little to no restrictions on what writers can pull off in books and in comics.
Mm,
You're right about that. But like I don't think that part plays on their mind consciously.
mm,
Like it's because they're very much separate. Like all these writers who we all love, they go into it with like they just put their own experiences on the page and experiences of people around them. Um, but they don't think about being shut down. I think like the TV and movie side, that's just completely different. I don't
mm.
think anyone higher up is like will shove these books full of queer characters so the gays will shut up. Like I do think it's a positive thing coming from the authors themselves.
Yeah, gotcha.
So I don't think it's really fair to slight the book side of things
Right.
for the lack of representation in higher, more expensive media that more people will consume.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, what all these different authors have accomplished is absolutely incredible, and I I love it. like people ask me, how in the world do you have a queer Star Wars YouTube channel? And I'm like, you don't even know. Like
No.
there's so much. It's just, of course, it would be great if there was more in the, audiovisual side of things, but the fact that there is so much in the print media is really wonderful.
Yeah, agreed. And there's still a lot of print media that doesn't have it, but like there's enough to make up for it.
Yeah.
And there's like a couple of things that are still lacking, but I do have faith that we'll get there eventually.
Yeah, I think so. So here is my last question. So, what would be your dream example of the perfect representation of a queer character and their life? If you feel like this has already been met, what would that example be?
I think I'm gonna have to grab back to Zine. I think
Okay.
like
Yeah.
yeah, the way that was done, like that's the way it should be for me, I think. And yeah, but like it's also like it shouldn't be just that, because the perfect representation, like it doesn't exist, because um there's queer people of all,
Yeah.
yeah, we all have different experiences,
Right.
so no one character or book can really encompass it all. So I, yeah, the only thing I want to say is we need more, and and if we just keep getting more representation, the perfect representation for hopefully everyone will
Hmm.
pop up sooner or later. Hopefully
Yeah.
sooner, but
Yeah. No, that's a really good point because you have it's very person dependent what they find relatable and what they're able to really connect with. So, yeah, that's a great point. Um I guess for me, and this is more of a just quick general take on the question, but I like it when it's a very real representation, like real trials and tribulations that they deal with. And like, especially in regards to couples, I like it when it's not all perfect, when there is are downs and ups and, they're all over the place because that's what relationships are typically like.
yeah,
So I like that a lot. Um, for example, Sylvester Yarrow and gosh, I'm having the worst time. COVID has eaten my
Jordana,
brain. Say that again.
Jordana Sparkburn.
Yes, Jordana Sparkburn. Thank you. Sylvester Yarrow and Jordana Sparkburn. I love their relationship because it like starts out as puppy love and then they separate and then they're like, you treated me bad, so I can't be back with you, and like you go back and forth, but then it's good. And so I like that kind of real life, these things are happening. But
Yeah, and I think that's also very prevalent in Afra, because
oh
there's
God, yes.
Afra is like Disaster X's the comic.
Yeah, yeah. With both Sana and Magna, like,
Yeah, and Lucky and Ariel, like
oh yeah, 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 yeah. Absolutely. So I really like that. I think that's really, really good.
yeah.
I
But
also like it. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I also think that's something that comes with like having more and more and more representation, because like if there's just a splotch of representation here and there, like it you kind of feel like everything has to be perfect,
Yeah.
because you don't want to disappoint the queer community. But like if you've got a lot of queer characters in your comic, they can be pretty terrible, and it still be good representation, because you just got to show every side of it.
Hmm. Yeah, that actually kind of, and oh, I skipped over this question, but I'll just bring it up briefly. that the first canonical queer character, Moff Delian Mors of Ryloth in the Lords of the Sith novel, oh gosh, like
Yeah.
horrible person, just like not a role model at all. And you're like, how is this the first queer character in canon? But it's good she exists, because not all queer people are wonderful people. But at the same time, why was she the first?
Yeah.
Just like,
Yeah, they probably should have introduced like a decent queer person in the same book, but it is what it is, and
yeah,
it's pretty far behind us now.
yeah, oh,
Uh,
oh yeah, for
so
sure.
yeah, like
Been a lot.
overall, we're doing okay these days.
I agree.
Never good enough, but we're okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so, so much for coming on the show. Is there any last thought you would like to say?
No.
Okay.
Should I?
Then let us know where we can find you.
Yeah, I'm on mostly Twitter at QueerSWatch, and my personal account Skier Madness, double S at the front. I will also, if Twitter eventually collapses, you can find me at the same ads and on Hive or Mastodon, whatever ends up being prevalent. But I will be around on social media. It's a sickness.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. And for those watching, be sure to comment down below if you want to add to the conversation. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter at Alia Morgaine, and peruse my blog at thestarsreview.blogspot.com. May the force be with you.